2 Kings chapter 4 verses 8 to 11 and 14 to 16a. Elisha is a holy man of God, let him remain. One day Elisha came to Shunem, where there was a woman of influence, who urged him to dine with her. Afterward, whenever he passed by, he used to stop there to dine. So, she said to her husband, I know that Elisha is a holy man of God. Since he visits us often, let us arrange a little room on the roof and furnish it for him with a bed, table, chair, and lamp, so that when he comes to us, he can stay there. Some time later Elisha arrived and stayed in the room overnight. Later Elisha asked, Can something be done for her? His servant Gehazi answered, Yes. She has no son, and her husband is getting on in years. Elisha said, Call her. When the woman had been called and stood at the door, Elisha promised, This time next year, you will be fondling a baby son. The word of the Lord. Hospitality is a tricky business, isn't it? An uncle calls and tells you he will be passing through town and would like to stay with you overnight. You aren't the least bit thrilled by the uncle's request, because it is difficult for him to speak a sentence without a curse word. What do you do, short of offending the uncle, by not being hospitable to a relative? So, you bite the bullet and say, Sure, you can stay so long as you don't curse while you are here. You know I don't like it, and I wouldn't want my children to pick up the habit. Shunem is located between the mountains of Samaria and Galilee in the valley of Jezreel. Notice that the story is about a wealthy woman, who used her wealth to do the work of the Lord on earth, by providing hospitality for a traveling prophet, Elisha. Roofs in ancient Israel were typically flat and served as important areas for family gatherings, and other special events, and providing temporary guest accommodations. Elisha enjoyed her hospitality and housing, so in return he wanted to do her a favor. Elisha was wondering what he could possibly give of value to this wealthy woman. He seeks the advice of his servant, Gehazi, who was skilled in the ways of the world. Gehazi recognized the realities of the culture, and the times in that a woman's worth, her value was a function of her being protected and cared for by a male. Thus he recommended that since her husband was old, a son would be of greatest value. Just like Sarah, Abraham's wife, she didn't believe that she would give birth to a son. Just like Sarah, she marveled at God's works. Much later in the New Testament we hear Jesus comment on the Father's abilities when he says, With men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. Without faith it is impossible to please him. Hebrews chapter 11 verse 6a.